Greetings and welcome to the Author Spotlight for the Eastern Region's Delta Authors on Tour, a signature event developed by the National Arts and Letters Commission of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. The Pittsburgh Alumni Chapter is proud to serve as the host chapter for the Eastern Region. The purpose of the Delta Authors on Tour is to promote literacy and the talents of over 340 Delta authors within our sisterhood. This literary extravaganza will be held Saturday, May the 6th, 2023 at the University of Pittsburgh. The theme, Bridges to Literary Excellence, will feature 8 phenomenal authors whose works are comprised of fiction, nonfiction, and a myriad of genres and topics that will appeal to all interests. We are proud to have the opportunity to spotlight our own gifted writers and assist them in selling their books. This event will support Black women entrepreneurs, celebrate the joy of reading, inspire our creativity, and instill a sense of pride. I'm your host, Dr. Tysana Jones from the Pittsburgh Alumni Chapter. Today we are joined by Deborah Williams, author of Peace Treaty with Myself, a book of poetic meditations. She is a member of the Durham Alumni Chapter and a graduate of North Carolina Central, the University of Dubuque, in organizational diversity and inclusion leadership. She has an MBA from the University of Phoenix and a Master's of Divinity from the Duke School of Divinity. She is currently an instructional facilitator at Duke Divinity School. When performing her poetry, you will find her name on the marquee as Queen Prophet Sage. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ms. Williams. First of all, what inspires you to write?
Life inspires me to write. It could be something that an individual says, a reflection, something that's a current event, something that's happening in our community. God inspires me. I will say, especially when I think about Peace Treaty with Myself, there was a moment in time in my life where I felt like my creativity was being muzzled, where I could not write, everything that I felt like I was writing was garbage. And the moment that I was able to clear out some of the negative energy that was happening around me, I felt like God returned my muse to me. So God inspires me because I can write something today and a week or so or 2 years later pick it back up and say, oh my God, I wrote this. Okay, God, you did that. I like that. So I know that it is definitely a higher power that really puts the creativity inside, and it just comes out pen to paper, right?
That's beautiful. That muzzle, that hit me, that visual of the muzzle. And most of us have been there in some way. Mm-hmm. And so getting to a space where you're free to write your thoughts and your feelings and to know what's bigger than you is something that is real. That is such a real and amazing feeling to get it out. So let's talk about this writing process. You talked about even finding old things and say, oh, I did that. But how do you just get yourself in that writing mode to get your ideas on paper?
Yeah, so it's a meditative process or a contemplative practice of just sitting still and just writing. So if you were to come in like my office right now, I know that over to my right, there are probably about 4 or 5 journals sitting over here. And so I keep journals in my car and at home, and anytime an idea hits, I just write. Sometimes I'll write it as a note in my phone. I will record myself if I'm driving or what have you. So it is getting into this mode to write it's just taking the time to do it, right? Even if you feel like what you're writing is not making sense, it doesn't have to be grammatically correct. It is simply writing. Sometimes I'll even do a practice with myself, like choose a word and just write, take a letter and write 10 words with each out of the word from each letter, right? and then just string what comes to mind, if that's what happens. But it's centering down if necessary. But then sometimes it's just because you have something you got to say. And when no one else is listening, the pen and the paper are there, and they're fully present for that moment, that creative moment, that thoughtful moment, that contemplative moment.
Yes, I love when you said contemplatives. Like too often we don't take that time, and we feel like we can't take that time to sit and be still. And that stillness is when we have the opportunity to hear from the source. And to get it on paper is that next step to possibly even move it into more action. And so that's an amazing reminder of that importance of stillness, and then having the things and the tools set up ready to capture that information. You talked about writing, you talked about using your phone for dictation and notes, just getting it out so that it's captured, and then you can revisit that information later. Thank you so much.
But you know what, Sora Jones,
Mhm.
also, the world we live in does not give us an opportunity to center down, to think. We have so many electronic devices and ways that we use to store information, that everything is coming in, but using the pen and the paper, and I literally mean writing, right? Typing is great, but sitting down and writing, you're using all of your body and all of your energy, and it's pouring out, and you're in control. Oftentimes with our electronic devices, we are we're at the will of what we see, what we turn to, what we scroll through, and we don't get an opportunity, we don't take the time. And if you think about how, if you just record the amount of time we may spend scrolling through one of these social media outlets, we could have written a whole essay,
Yeah.
a couple poems. You could have written something that in the long run will have captured the real you. So, that's one thing that I've gotten in the habit, because there was a time that I was just sitting there, I was the one scrolling, and then I realized that I was cheating myself out of my creativity.
Oh, that you just gave a word. I need you to know that you provided me for a word. I'm sure somebody else is going to receive that as well. But taking the time to be still and taking the time to capture the thoughts, to really be who you are and capture that moment. That's very, very powerful. So I think this answer is like the next question is, what do you want your readers to get from your writing?
Yeah, so Peace Treaty with Myself, a book of poetic meditations. It is a book of satire. It's a life journey. It's me with observations about what was happening in the now, in the moment, and taking time to really just sit down and think through my thoughts on Blackness, on escaping domestic violence. The first three poems are really about domestic violence, and then from there, my approach to leaving and getting out of a domestic violence situation. And that's when my muse returned to me, and I feel like I know that this book is a tribute and a thank you note to my muse returning to me, right? So everything after those first few poems is really a thought process creatively done to talk about life.
Thank you so much. So last question, is there anything else that you might like to convey to our viewers as they prepare to receive you in Pittsburgh?
Oh, yes. So when you buy Peace Treaty with Myself, a book of poetic meditations, one of the things that I ask is to not try to read this book of poetry like a novel. Skip around, have fun, read aloud, perform it, and have fun with this work. Okay, and I do believe that there is opportunity for all of us when we read this book of poetry to find your own peace and be able to help others unleash theirs.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. And I look forward to meeting you in May, and we're going to continue
Yes.
conversation. So thanks again.
Absolutely. This has been fantastic. And to all of my sorors, I thank you for your support. God bless.
Thank you.